You're listening to the Full 10 Yards of Britball podcast with your host, Timothy Lambert-Monk. Yes, welcome in one and all. Here we go, ladies and gents. We are here. We are week one. We are nearly hours away from the first games kicking off in the 2021 BAFA regionalised divisions season. I'm here all for it, and to join me to go through the week one preview and break it all down and see if we can make head or fist of anything that's going to be going on in week one is Jason Bowdler, one of the admins over at UK American Football Scene, amongst other things as well. Jason, Full 10 Yards, welcome to you, my friend.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. Good to be here.
Absolutely, yeah. Jumping at the bit to get some action on, well, not on our screens as such, but yeah, just to get some scores up and down the country and seeing what's going on up with all the different teams and obviously lots of tumult over the last 18 months.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think players, coaches, and everybody else, as well as fans, are just jumping at the bit to get outside. As an activity. To get out there and see some players leveling other players and finally seeing the game after what seems like a very, very long sort of 2 years basically. So I think we're chomping at the bit.
Yeah, anyone that is not too familiar with football, with Britball, well, welcome in. Yes, I will be here every week talking to coaches, players, and everyone around the Britball scene to talk through fixtures and breaking it down, previous results and what have you. So make sure you are following us at F10Y Britball on the Twitter. If you're listening on or watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button and you'll get notified every Sunday when a video does drop. Obviously, plan to do it to drop every Sunday morning. We might obviously record earlier in the week, so like we are doing here. Make sure you keep all things Full 10 Yards. So we have a competition between myself and Jason and some of the other guys as well when we get to that a bit later on. But before we get into week one games, Jason, obviously just want to give you an opportunity to talk about what we like to do on this podcast, to ask people how they got into the sport, how got into the game and come across the teams that they play for or interact with or help out behind the scenes. So talk us about a bit about your Britball journey and all the things that you do for the good of the game.
Yeah, so I started many, many years ago, back in '85. I'm one of the very, very old school fans. As you can see behind me, a bit of a Steelers fan. So
I won't hold that against you, don't worry.
Most people do, so Britball wise, yeah. So I think it was about 1987. Like everybody back then. I got First Down newspaper every week, and there was the Britball pages at the back. My dad was sort of into the sport, and I was only like 15 at the time, so I couldn't really go anywhere on my own. So I badgered him for literally 2 years. So we eventually gave in '89. Balls were British reigning champions, didn't even know, to be fair. So from '89 onwards, so we celebrated, me and my dad celebrated 30 years back in 2019, which the club recognised, which was great. And UK American football scene sort of stemmed from my Steelers Facebook group. Yes, I do run two because I'm like that.
Why you have the punishment of one when you can have the punishment of one?
Yeah. But it's got to the stage where the Steelers one actually runs itself. Such a great little community. But there was a lot of Britball players in there. We sort of started talking about British American football, and but I didn't want it to sort of overtake what essentially is an NFL group. Yeah. So I sort of set up a link to a page, and somebody says, "Why don't you just?" There's nothing like this really. There was obviously double coverage with their website, but there's nothing sort of on Facebook. Why don't you just go with it? And I was like, oh, okay, let's do this. I might get a couple of hundred at the most. We're going to touch 7,000 soon. So it's just been a massive beast really. That's gained a lot of momentum. Yeah. So and as I stipulate on the actual group itself, it wouldn't be anything without, the head coaches have really gotten on board with it, and obviously a load of players as well. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And just before we move on to this season, just any stark differences between when you were playing back in the 80s to what it is today? Anything major that strikes out to you that people aren't maybe aware of? Obviously it's not back in the days of leather helmets, but
yeah, not that bad. Not really, to be fair.
No.
I mean, no, not really. I mean, if you're going to go into it, you got to have a sort of level of dedication, and I see that through teams. So yeah, there's not that much change really.
No. Just everyone going about it on social media.
Well, there is that.
Yeah, there is that.
Everyone's a head coach.
Absolutely. Well, this is it. The armchair fan, and we'll try and obviously do that as we go through obviously the week 1 games. But just before we get into the actual games themselves, Jason, just want to kind of get your thoughts on the impact of COVID over the last 18 months in with regards to how teams might perform, how teams might play, approach games, because it's going to be some teams that have maybe benefited because people have tried something new to get out and mental health and that kind of stuff. But then there's going to be majority of teams that might be at the other end of the spectrum because people don't want to play anymore, or haven't obviously gotten older. So again, it's an age thing. Just give us your thoughts on maybe the impact of maybe the COVID on Britball.
Well, if you're listening to this, then obviously you know about the realignments. So obviously Buffer took the hold that let's travel as less as possible. So they've obviously realigned the divisions, amalgamated all together. So if you don't know, there is a Premier and a Division 1 and a Division 2. Like soccer itself, you've got that sort of different levels of play, and you can tell a Premiership team from a Division 2 team. And that's all sort of amalgamated this year, which makes it very, very interesting. So, you've got Premiership teams mixed with Division 2. So, for me, you expect the Premiership teams to sort of, if they've got a big squad, you expect second and third string to play, a lot more, and just basically treat it as a massive dress rehearsal for your Premiership season in 22. Really, try and get as prepared as possible. And going down the scale, Division 1. Some of the teams that played each other anyway, so there'll also be that rivalry. If you're going to go out on the field, you're going to go out and win, whether it's a friendly or not.
Yeah.
And
like I was going to say, there are going to be some teams, although they've had 18 months away from each other. Again, the rivalry is always going to be there. There's a couple of crackers on there on the docket, which I can see. But do you think everyone likes to talk about the rule book and maybe potentially rule book going out the window? Do you reckon there's any form book to go on? Obviously, we've got 2019 results and finishing standings to go on, but obviously some teams are going to be affected more than others. And do you think, with regards to the games themselves, do you expect more points because the disparity of the teams that might be playing each other, or do you expect maybe less points because it could be a bit of misfiring? I know teams have obviously had practices and stuff, but it's still going to be the first time they step on the field for 18 months. There's going to be a bit of jitters, maybe first quarter or maybe even first half or something like that. But how do you see it playing out?
Yeah, definitely. We talked about this on our podcast, and we sort of like, I think your offense will, the majority will struggle. Again, it depends who's playing who, really. So, if you've got Tamworth playing Crew, then it's going to be a lot easier. But yeah, you think of the personnel changeover in 2 years. Like you say, you've got guys that have retired. You've probably got a hell of a lot of rookies who, during lockdown, have wanted to get fit and try something different. You find the whole lockdown experience, it just changes your sort of attitude to life. So,
absolutely.
There's maybe a lot of guys out there who played a sport but now want to try this, and I've seen something. So be interesting.
Yeah, it certainly will. Is there a particular game, as we're about to go through them, is there a particular game you're looking forward to most this in week 1, and why is that?
I'm looking forward to the London Blitz B versus Oxford. So a lot of good stuff.
The curtain raiser, that one.
Yeah. So I had a bit of a disagreement actually with one of my mods. Obviously, London Blitz B are a great side. They're very quick. They're very fast. But my argument was that it comes to the playoffs and they come up against like a really good physical side like they did with South Wales.
South Wales, yeah.
Yeah, great defence. They're very solid. They sort of move away from their game plan, if you like. So it'd be interesting because Oxford are sort of like a very sort of, I know they struggled sort of a bit in 2019, but they're sort of an established Division 1 side. They're no mugs. And so I'd like to see how they do. how they do this week. That'd be quite interesting.
Yeah, and then so finally, before let's actually get into the games, is there any particular team for the whole season that you think will surprise, either good or bad? Is there any team that you again look at, maybe just keeping tabs on a bit more, but for a certain reason?
I am hoping, and I know Steve in your season preview mentioned about the London Olympians. I'm just hoping they nick a game off the Blitz. I just want that gap and by their social media, I mean, London Olympians must have the biggest amateur squad in Europe, because they're signing somebody every day. It's ridiculous.
I see that on their social media. So every day you've got a new person on.
And they've got Rick back, who's just one of the a legendary Britball coach. So he's no mug. He's going to get it right. And I'm just hoping that gap, which was getting closer and closer in 2019, and it's one of the reasons I was so disappointed about 2020, because I thought let's see how this goes between them two. So I'm hoping, because obviously that London division's is basically Premiership, so be interested to see how they do.
Yeah, absolutely. And then so we'll take a look into week one now. 18 games in total to kick us off opening weekend. Majority are 2 o'clock. I think all but 3. I think there's 1 o'clocker, and then I think there's a couple afterwards as well. So, like I say, London Blitz and Oxford Saints do kick us off. Let me get my fixtures. Where are we? So there we go. You'll notice in top right hand corner, Hastings have recently, I think their opponents was the Essex Spartans. They actually announced they didn't have a game because the other team pulled out. So it's all a bit hush in Hastings. I'm not quite sure. And I mean, I joked on my season preview article that they probably didn't want to go up past the Dartford Tunnel a couple of times this summer, but I did mean that in jest, of course. And one thing I will say actually as well, if you are traveling, if you are going to a game, please just check your local's kind of team stance on spectators. Please adhere to social distancing. We've got this far now to go and ruin it all would be a great shame. But as I say, you can see this is page 1 of 2 of all the fixtures. But you've got London Blitz B against the Oxford Saints kicking us off. Tamworth Phoenix, who don't seem to be on that one because I've got the images in me list actually in chronological order, so that's not going to help anyone, is it? So I'll flick through those as well. But Tamworth Phoenix and Leicester is one of the games where obviously Leicester were perennial kind of Prem teams. They obviously went down for a variety of reasons in 2019. Obviously, I think the lot was a loss on the last day of the season, wasn't it? Is it still going to be one way traffic for Tamworth?
I would have thought so. Yeah, just on paper. I think they've still got a great squad, and obviously they're the closest rivals to the Warriors. So I haven't heard anything different. So yeah.
I mean, there's a bit spicy. Well, as I say, spicy. One of the Tamworth's social media posts got a bit of a backlash, didn't they? Because they're not necessarily poking fun at the spectator side of things, but So I'm not going to get too drawn into that. But
they poked a bit of fun at the wording of what Buffer said. So but, they are taking spectators. So I have got an update on some of the fixtures, as in spectators or not. So I can update as we go along.
Okay. Yeah, cool. All right, well, let's go through this here. London Blitz B, Saints, Tamworth Phoenix, Leicester Falcons, Bournemouth Bobcats, Portsmouth Dreadnoughts. Could be a close one on paper. Obviously, Bournemouth was 6-2 in the division with Blitz B back in 2019. They lost to Southwest. Was it Southwest in the postseason 2019 as well? Yeah, Portsmouth obviously had
Division 2 final.
Yeah, and Portsmouth obviously having some struggles in the SFC 1 Central with 3-7. Close one maybe on paper. How do you see that one going?
I think Portsmouth were better than the record suggested. They're in a very tough division in Division 1 anyway. They're a great side, really well organised. I just wonder where Bournemouth are going to get their points from. I was actually at that Division 2 game, and South Wales really had them in their pocket, really. So obviously I don't know what personnel they've got since, but I thought they would address the offence during this lockdown. So it'd be interesting to see. Obviously, it's South Coast, so it's going to be spicy anyway. So you never know.
Yeah, no, absolutely, indeed. And then in the Southwest, Cornwall Monarchs and Jurassic Coast Raptors, not two teams I necessarily know too much about, and DC Presence and Darlington Steam. Again, these are teams that are kind of towards the lower end of the spectrum, obviously on the tiers. Anything from those two? Obviously, Doncaster Mustangs and the Humber Warhawks as well is another one in the White Rose division. Anything from those that tickles your fancy, or anything that sticks out there?
I've heard Cornwall are recruiting really well. I've heard they're getting a bit of a roster behind them after sort of many years of really struggling. And Jurassic Coast have sort of gone the other way. They're sort of prying out for linemen apparently on social media. So that were a good, well-run club for division. I think they'll step up another little level. They've got flag teams and under 17s teams going on as well, so they're building that structure up very slowly, doing things the right way. So Doncaster, they went down. So Doncaster and Humber, the two teams I think will do well. I think Humber is slowly getting their act together, sort of thing. So and Doncaster have been very sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Very active on social media. So hopefully they'll have a bigger squad than they did in 2019.
Sure. And then move over to the southeast. Two teams that are going to know each other well. Kind of a team that they finished 4th and 5th in the SFC2 East in 2019. East Essex Sabres and the East Kent Mavericks. The one matchup that they had was 31-7 to the Mavericks. Is it going to go the same way again this week?
No, I quite like East Essex. I think they're a bit underrated. They're in a very tough division as well. You've got Norwich and Ipswich usually with them. They usually come sort of third, but they give as good as they get. I'm expecting something from them.
Okay,
from this year.
Move over to the Red Rose. We've got Halton Spartans and Chester Romans. Halton going, I think they went down in the title game, didn't they, in 2019 to Inverclyde, which surprised quite a few people at the time. It'd be interesting to see what Inverclyde do. Obviously, they don't. The Scottish teams, if you're wondering as well, they don't start until August. So, is it August? Yes, it is
August 8th. I think.
Yeah, that's it. So that's why we're not pro England, we're not pro independence, that kind of stuff. It's just that they start a bit later on. But like I say, Halton went down to Inverclyde again. Surprised at the time, but they steamrolled the division that year, didn't they? Chester Romans, not really ever a pushover. Did find it difficult in the NFC 1 South in 2019. Obviously, they were in with Sandwell, Shropshire, Lancashire, which are they're above average teams. So that's an interesting matchup in the Red Rose out of the gate.
Yeah. Two great run teams. Halton have got that huge stadium in Witness, which people say is a big advantage actually, because they know sort of the width of the field. It's a lot bigger, and some guys are just in awe of it. So whether it affects the Chester Romans, I don't know, because like you say, they're a very experienced side, and they'll give anybody a game. It's never easy against Chester.
No, absolutely. So Halton, one of the teams that we had on a couple of years ago, back in the postseason. Moving over to Thames Valley, it could be an interesting one. This one, Hertfordshire Cheetahs and the Wembley Stallions. FC 1 East 5-5 record for the Stallions. Cheetahs 7-3 in the Central. Possibly a stronger division there for the Cheetahs. Hertfordshire probably take this one at home.
Yeah, I would have thought so. It's also a charity game. Unfortunately, they're not taking spectators in, but it is live streamed. So if you actually want to watch some Britball in the comfort of your own home, you can do from Hertfordshire. I'll put links up on the group. Awesome. So that's for the Help for Heroes charity. So and Hertfordshire are a great club, very family orientated. So, but I expect good things from Wembley as well. They've been very active, so this could be a nice, juicy tie actually. So if
it's going to be streamed, sign me up all day. Moving over to East Anglia, then Ipswich Cardinals and the Ouse Valley Eagles. But I've got a potential asterisk here for an upset. Ouse Valley obviously 1-9 in the SFC 1 East, and then Ipswich somehow 4-2 and 2 in the SFC 2. I'd probably make this quite close on paper. I don't know how you see it.
Yeah, maybe. Ouse Valley have sort of suffered from sort of roster numbers over the past few years and been very quiet, but they've been a bit more sort of active during the sort of lockdown. So whether they get like a nice healthy roster, but Ipswich are good side, really good side, very always hard to play against. So I fancy Ipswich in this one. I think Ouse Valley have probably got sort of too much sort of work to do, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
So I think Ipswich will take it.
Ipswich sporting I saw recently, I think the last couple of days, they've sported a new brand and a new logo and all the rest of it as well. So bring in 2021 right this season correctly. Well, I do actually like their logo. I saw a couple of people giving hate on that logo with the I don't know who he is, but obviously he's holding the ball. But it's a bit different. And
it's different.
Not for everyone.
It's very vanilla. So but they are taking spectators in. So if you're in that area and you want to have a look, Ipswich are taking in spectators. Obviously, like you say at the beginning, social distancing will be in place. So.
Yeah, awesome. Probably one of the teams with the hardest matchup first off in week one, Nottingham Raiders home to the Sheffield Giants. Unfortunately, as much as I'd like to say, I can't really see Nottingham getting too many points on the board. Who knows? Might be a surprise or two, but yeah, that's going to be one-way traffic. Another good one over in the Red Rose, Lancashire Wolverines and the Manchester Titans are going to get it on. Lancashire 6-4 in 2019. Titans obviously perennial Premiership team. Probably don't see an upset. I don't know how you see it. I don't really see
no, not really. I'm expecting sort of Manchester to sort of really step up to sort of really challenge. I know they beat Tamworth in 2019, but I'm expecting them to do that every year from now and bridge that gap with the Warriors. I mean, they got to the semis and, you get to the Warriors and it's 63-0. I'm expecting that gap really to close. So I'm hoping, this year they use it to, really get it together. So, and I've heard, there's stuff being said about Lancashire as well with the head coach leaving and player behaviour and stuff. So, yeah, be interesting.
Yeah. Certainly expect Manchester to take that one. Tough fixture first up for the Northampton Knights. Obviously, Nottingham Caesars will fancy their division chances. Obviously in the Central East, decent outfit there. And then moving into the South, cracking game for this one. Sussex Thunder and Solent Thrashers, one of the fixtures of the weekend for me. Both SFC1 teams, Central from 2019. Solent 10-0, Sussex 7-3. Solent obviously went to go on and beat Samwell in 2019. Samwell, obviously, decent outfit as well. But yeah, close. The games between them in 2019 were quite close. The last game was 13-10 in Solent's favour. This is going to be cracker on paper.
Yeah, it's the game of the week, isn't it, really? So, you got two great offences, two great, well-run teams. Solent have got an absolutely huge squad, absolutely massive. But, Ian Ellis, the head coach of Sussex, must hate this season because they've always been there or thereabouts to get in the Prem. And he must be absolutely chomping at the bit just to get on with stuff and finally make that leap. So, but this would be a cracker.
Yeah, it will be a cracker. Yeah. I think we've had Ian on as well previously. So yeah, good luck to you guys if you are somehow watching our lovely YouTube or listening to it on the podcast. Moving over to Southwest, Torbay Trojans and Bristol Apache. I'm not too familiar with those two teams. I don't know if you can fill in the gap on that one.
Yeah, so I mean that division in general is sort of as you were. So you've got Somerset Wyverns as well. So in our predictions, we had a three-way tie at 6-2. So we've got Torbay beating Bristol and Somerset beating Torbay and all that sort of thing. So but Torbay they've got a small squad, but they're very talented. They're very good. So this could be a good one.
Cool. I'll look out for that one as well. And then moving over to the Mercia, obviously, I think Mercia, I think you'll probably agree, is the standout division of all the divisions that have in the realignment. But we've got Staffordshire Surge and the Stanwell Steelers. Steelers travelling to Staffordshire. Obviously, Stanwell, we had them on a couple of weeks ago. They can't wait to get into the Prem. But obviously, they've got a year to wait, and be interesting to see if they can continue kind of their upward trend. 10-0 regular season in 2019. Again, very upbeat with Stuart and Paul on. So have Surge got enough here to put up a fight? NFC 2 South scene, probably not.
But being truthful, probably not. Their 2019 was very disappointing. As a Bulls fan, we had a good rivalry, and they just lacked something in 2019. I know they lost their quarterback, so they sort of struggled from then on. But again, Sandwell, they're going to be one of them teams that sort of really benefits from this year. They can sort of bed in these players ready for 22 and give some Premier teams a bit of a headache.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's say obviously, Paul, the new head coach Paul over there, he was saying about putting the new offensive system playbook and all the rest of it. So yeah, perfect for them to get that down to a T when they go. Obviously, they'll face Tamworth this season, but I'm certainly looking. That's a fixture I've got circled on the calendar. And then we round off. Then for some reason, I think this is 6:00 in the evening. This one, London Blitz hosting the Kent Exiles. Again, two teams that are going to know each other quite well. Blitz 8-2 back in 2019. Blitz took care of the business quite comfortably on both occasions against Ken Exiles. They scored 42 on both occasions, only conceding 7 points collectively out of the 2 games. Anyway, Kent can kind of close that gap on there. What are you expecting from Kent? And obviously, again, you mentioned about the London division.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame for Kent because this is, like we said at the start, it's a Prem, but without a couple of other teams. But they're the couple of other teams that Kent could have a go at.
Yeah.
So it's just a shame here that they're going up against the 3 London teams, which are very, very strong. So yeah, like you say, it's a learning curve for Kent probably this year, and sort of learn from that. So also, I presume it's a 6 o'clock because they usually do a double header with the Blitz.
Okay.
So I think Blitzby will be first, and that's why I think it's a late kickoff.
That probably makes sense why Blitzby are up first. So there you go. Okay, well that solves that mystery. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson here at your service. So talk us through, obviously, when Sunday comes, Jason. What are you going to be doing Sunday? Obviously, I assume you'll have a stream on. Are you going to a game? What are you doing? What are you doing Sunday?
Yeah, I got a couple of options. I have been invited to one of the games that are not taking spectators in, so it's not illegal. It's all above board. I've just got to decide what to do for myself because my job role, it affects other people if I sort of go around the country traveling. So I've got to think about that. But if I'm not comfortable with that, I'll probably be at Tamworth. To be fair, so it'd be a good matchup with the Leicester. So. It's not too far from my parents, so which is good. So, and then I'll come back for the stream with Hartford as well. So,
yeah, lovely stuff. So before we do let you go, Jason. Obviously, the other day we thought, let's make it a bit more interactive. Let's have a bit of competition, and we decided for some reason I decided, but for some reason we decided to kind of have a competition between ourselves, you and UK American football scene, obviously the Britball in vodcast as well. So every week we're going to have on our social medias. I'm not going to give you my answers at the moment. I'm not going to give you my answers now. So you're going to have to wait and look on our social medias to see where we're going. I'm not giving anything away. But yeah, so we're going to pick 5 fixtures each week, and we're going to do the scores, and we predict obviously the winner, and there's going to be points based off of how well we do off of that. So we're not obviously going to go for all the big teams. We're not going to go for all the whatever. We're just going to pick 5 games out each week. So they're the ones this week. Sussex at Solent, obviously a cracker of a game there to kick us off, and then Torbay at Apache, DC Presidents and Darlington, Blitzby, Oxford obviously kicking us off, and then Bournemouth and Portsmouth as well. So a couple of crackers in there as well. So yeah, look forward to doing a well. I say do some research, but I suppose like we've said, we can't really do any. So it's just let's just have 3 darts, throw them at a board, and then that's what the score will be for that team.
Yeah, exactly. So
but we will see. But yeah, good bit of fun. Obviously, a bit of interaction, a bit of fun with obviously return to football. It's always nice to have something else to lose out from my perspective.
Yeah, just get a bit of banter going. Absolutely. So
absolutely, yeah.
It's just something nice, because you go around and you're trying to get all these scores together and graphics and everything else, and yeah, it's a good idea just to have a bit of banter with another couple.
Let's just have a little bit of extra something riding on
exactly.
It. That's absolutely. So you can everyone can look forward to me. We'll get to week 10. And it's like I'm still 0 and whatever 0 and 50 or something stupid like that. But yeah, I'll try not to disgrace myself as well. So check our social media at F10Y Britball for the Britball side, or at 14 yards obviously on Twitter for the main account, at 14 yards on Instagram and whatnot. So you see how we're getting on as the weeks pass, and see what our predictions are each of the week. As if you tune into a stream, or if you maybe you're not sure if you think a matchup's quite close, which way we are going to go. So Jason, obviously, thank you for joining us for previewing week 1 with us. Any final remarks from you? Anything that you want to say? You can plug your Facebook group and get anyone that may be watching that's not part of that, and obviously where they can find you elsewhere.
Yeah, so we're basically Facebook, on Facebook. So UK American football scene. If you type that in, you'll find us on there. So we have got a Twitter handle as well, which is at UK scene. So we're looking to get sort of members on board as well to sort of bring in the results as they come in, sort of thing. I know what the groups have done it, so that's what I'm looking at this weekend. I'm going to put some some posts out with that as well, just to get everybody sort of interactive, and we can sort of get the results as they come in, which is, a bit more exciting than just, putting them up at 9 o'clock at night, so.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so we will, if you on our social handle, we'll try and do them as we go in. We will retweet from around the grounds and all the rest of it as well. So it's not the easiest thing to, say if there's a couple of teams that you're not too familiar with or don't know many people, it's hard to get the result unless you've got to wait for Baffa to stick out before 9 o'clock. But there we go. Last week, that is week 1 in the books. Again, if you're going anywhere, if you're traveling to any of the games, please make sure you adhere to social distancing. Just don't be stupid. Don't use your common sense. And like I say, we want to get to week 15 or whatever the final week is. So try and just do your part to make sure we get there. But enjoy the games if you are going. Again, just tweet us, give us some videos, give us some touchdowns, and we'll retweet those out. And let's say if you've got any scores for us, you can send them us over, and we'll retweet them out so the whole Britball community can see those. Thank you to Jason for joining me, helping me make me not look like an idiot and make me look like I know what I'm talking about. But we will be back next week. There is a nice little podcast that will be in the pipeline coming over the next week or two. I won't disclose the guest, but it's a very decent guest, so make sure you keep your eyes peeled for that. Make sure you are subscribing if you're on YouTube. Follow us on Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star review if you for 1 second enjoy this lovely show. But we'll be back next week when we do this all again for the game.